I spent 96 hours 100%ing Persona 2 Innocent Sin, and that was the easy one. To 100% Eternal Punishment, I had to deal with demon mutations that took 3 hours off my life, chase down a serial killer, battle the Taiwanese mafia, and take on the first true super boss in the entire Persona series. You know, typical, what day is it? Tuesday? Typical Tuesday. And trust me, that demon mutation is just the beginning. This game picks up right where Innocent Sin left off, and if you're jumping in blind, don't worry. It'll all make sense in a little while. If you haven't seen that video, you should probably go check it out. Seriously, it's the first video I've been paid for and my power's been going out lately. I need those views. So we're starting things off with some old guys worshipping a mummy, and not the Brendan Fraser kind either. Unfortunately, this one's just ahead. We're playing as Maya this time around instead of Tatsuya, which means we have to do some adulting and get yelled at by our boss. Ah, the joys of adulthood. Can't relate. Afterwards, we meet up with Maya's roommate and my favorite Persona 2 girl, Ulala. Why is she my favorite? Have you seen her punch things?
Gorgeous.
Just like the first game, Maya heads over to Seven Sisters High for some interviews, except unlike last time, Tatsuya isn't here. He's probably off staring dramatically out a window. Instead, we meet Tatsuya's brother Katsuya, who's doing some investigating. We run around the school, meet Maya's would-be murderer from before she got all stabby, and hey, Anna's here going to school. She seems well-adjusted. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. I should probably mention that Katsuya is investigating the murders around town involving the serial killer Joker. Hey wait, that sounds familiar. Anna mentions that she's gonna go kill the principal, which totally isn't suspicious at all. Let's go ask him what he Oh, he's dead. Yeah, this doesn't look good for Anna's case. We chase after her with Katsuya and are suddenly attacked by demons and Joker himself. He looks a lot less flashy and way more murdery this time around. He tosses Maya her guns and is like, hey, you remember the other side, right? Come on, do the thing! And then we all awaken to our personas. Katsuya gets Helios, Ulala gets Callisto, and Maya, of course, gets Maya. Yeah, still confusing. Just like the first game, Joker makes us eat shit and we go meet Philemon, who is kinda not looking so good. He's lost a bunch of power for some odd reason. To be fair, he kinda deserves it for that ending. Still not over that. Regardless, after he's done giving us his usual cryptic nonsense, we get the achievement, Thou Art I. Beautiful. Only 126 achievements left to go. No big deal, we got this. We get our tutorial on demon negotiation and get introduced to the weird-ass battle system. Unlike every other JRPG in the world, Eternal Punishment makes you set a strategy and then executes it when you click the battle button. It's almost like the game's asking you to commit to your choices before you make them, and I'm already bad at making decisions. On the bright side, the menus are much faster this time around, so I'm not completely losing my mind. We'll get our first level up after that, so let's talk about stats. For this run, I'm going 1 point into Dex and 1 point into Agility, then splitting the last point between Luck and Vitality. At least until we can get the luck source item like in the previous video. Still following? Good. Trust the process. We head up the clock tower, which is locked because of course it is, so we head back to the teacher's lounge, grab the key, and then head all the way back up. I swear to God, half this game is just running back and forth through the same hallways. Truly riveting. When we finally get back inside the clock tower, we find Joker and Anna. He goes on and on about how she's his partner and he'll make her understand the other side. But more importantly, it's time for our first boss fight. It's nothing special, just a fight against a few normal-ass demons. Now, annoyingly, unlike Innocent Sin, we can't just auto-spam fusion spells every turn since our turn order switches constantly. Thanks, ATLUS. I really appreciate that extra layer of tedious bullshit. We still take the time to set up fusion spells every turn just to quickly take out the little demons and the big demon, but Ulala does end up going down. Get used to that because some of the boss fights in this game are stupid tough. For beating our first boss, we actually get 2 achievements, Impossible and Impossible Hard. This will be the case for every boss fight, just like the first game. So I mean, double the achievements, double the, well, it's just the numbers going up really. Joker takes us down, but before he can do anything meaningful, guess who shows up? It's Tatsuya! He swoops in, saves Anna and us, then tosses a Seven Sisters emblem at me and tells us to go to Kuzunoha to spread the rumor about it being safe. Then he just dips. To be honest, he's kinda cool and mysterious this way. He's got more protagonist energy now than when he was the actual protagonist. Funny how that works. Katsuya's superiors boot him off the case, which just screams suspicious, but you know he isn't going to take that lying down or we wouldn't have a game. So he joins up with us and we're off to spread that rumor. Over at the detective agency, we spread our first of 43 rumors to get the achievement Rumors Are Reality. Tamaki talks a bit about how Tatsuya is probably looking into rumors and suggests we do the same. So they end up directing us to someone named Baofu. If you remember back to Innocent Sin, he was kind of just a computer, but this time around he's a real dude and he'll be joining our party. I straight up love Baofu as a character. He's just so interesting to me. Even when we first meet him, he already has a persona and who knows how long he's been using it. Very mysterious and very cool. Baofu tells us that the Joker rumor seems to have been started by someone named Tatsuya Sudo. Because we didn't have enough people in the game with similar sounding names, now we have Tatsuya Suo, Katsuya Suo, Tatsuya Sudo, and his father Tatsuzo Sudo. Definitely not confusing at all. Oh, and Tatsuzo is also apparently the Foreign Minister of Affairs, so whoo boy, we got some big shot target this time around. Baofu calls up the detective agency and spreads a rumor about Parabellum selling weapons just to confirm if rumors really are coming true, and it turns out they are. So now Maya has a choice. We did spread that rumor that the Seven Sisters emblem Tatsuya gave us stops Joker from getting to us, but we need some way to find him, so burn it! Having Baofu joins us also nets us the achievement Baofudine, which has to be one of the best achievement names I've heard. Baofu says Sudo's son should be at the Sanitarium, so that'll be our next stop. Shouldn't be too bad, right? I mean, it's just an asylum full of maniacs. How bad could it be? Before we go and do that though, it's about time we start making some quick stops. First to the Velvet Room to meet Igor. Apparently Baofu comes here pretty often. I wonder if he still comes here during the events of P3, 4, and 5. Questions for another time, I guess. Can't do much here right now, so I summon a pixie and we'll be on our way. Over at Gotten Sushi, we'll meet up with Toro, still living his best life in the new timeline, and still one of our rumor mongers. Though this time around, rumor mongers play a much less pivotal part than they did in Innocent Sin. We get some rumors, then get some more from Baofu's website, and of course spread them before heading for the Sanitarium. Something forest dungeon. At the end, we find an offering box, and this will literally not come up again until the end of the game. But for this 100%, it is very important to put 10,000 yen inside, or we'll lose out on one of the Fool personas later. So you know, don't forget, I almost did. Stepping into the Sanitarium, we're greeted with 2 more bodies. Eternal Punishment may just have the record in the series for most bodies found. Fun times. This time, it's the Tian Taolen. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Let's just go with Taiwanese Mafia. The dungeon itself is pretty straightforward without much to mention, but we do stop by Tatsuya Sudo's room where we find scribbles all over the wall. See, this is why you don't give maniacs or toddlers crayons in a white room. The ramblings on the wall talk about the other side and the Oracle of Maya, which Maya seems to instantly recognize, but can't quite figure out why. No time to dwell here though, we have a maniac to deal with. We confront Tatsuya Sudo, who blabs on and on about the original world, which is no doubt Nyarly's influence, but Baofu can't seem to be bothered because he sees the Mafia guys outside and instantly decides right before the boss fight that now is the perfect time to have a character goes AWOL moment and leaves us behind. Bro's been with us for less than 1 dungeon and he already said, fuck this shit. Sudo proceeds to sick his dog on us, which I definitely didn't lose to multiple times. And we get the achievement Hell Ho. Next up on our list of achievements to take care of is Donate to Dog Detective. So it's off to the police station to give all of our material possessions to a giant dog statue. You know, as one does. Then it's time to follow up on what Tatsuya Sudo told us and head over to the Aerospace Museum. You already know, 1, there's kids here. 2, we're gonna have to save them, and 3, this place is getting burned to the ground. But before all that, we do meet Jun, who's actually living a good life now. His mom and dad are both alive and everything is good for his family. You know what? Good for him. He deserves some happiness rather than a murderous rampage. 3, 2, 1, building's on fire. Okay, here we go. We save this group of kids and Maya once again starts to remember the other side when she finds the place where we rescued Ixquick in the original universe. But the rest of our party's like, hey, Earth to Maya, burning building, remember? So we go ahead and save the last 3 groups of kids and hit the roof where guess who shows up? It's Tatsuya again! Sudo takes Jun hostage, but Tatsuya knows better since he's been through this situation before. Sudo ends up falling down a hole and we escape on the blimp. Luckily for us, it doesn't explode this time around. Look at us, making progress. But you already know it's time for a boss fight. Just like Innocent Sin, Sudo comes back with his face all burnt just like it should be and we start fighting. Since I did end up completing the Aerospace Museum in under 5 minutes, we get the achievement Rapid Fire. Lucky for us, Tatsuya is actually usable for this boss fight. Now since I am on the PSP remake, we were able to transfer our save and use the save data from Innocent Sin, which means Tatsuya is level 99, baby. This'll be easy. I've gotta stop saying that. After our lone survivor Tatsuya carries the team, we of course get the Voices achievement and jump off the blimp.
Bye, Felicia.
Also, there's a scene where Jun says he needs to give Tatsuya his lighter for some reason, but doesn't know why he feels that way. On the beach, we get the first of many Baofu and Katsuya argue like a married couple moments.
Alright, shut up.
You shut up.
That's why your shoes raggedy.
That's why your mama dead.
and our party splits up for a bit. Ulala says she's done with all this shit, and Tatsuya's going back to police HQ, so it's just us and Baofu for a while. So, you know any good ghost stories? We head back over to work and meet Chizuru Ishigami, who is a totally normal and definitely not related to our enemy's fortune teller. Nothing to see here. She reads Maya's fortune, leaves, and then is suddenly on TV in the office where she goes on and on about how Joker is actually Joka and that it means a human possessed by Kagare. So what is Kagare? It's negative emotions like sin or jealousy. Now anybody who's ever played a Persona game can tell you where this is going. Humanity and their deadly sins causing the end of times? Shocking. Absolutely shocking. She also mentions that anybody who does the Joker curse will turn into a Joker. And well, rumors becoming reality ring any bells? This is about to get messy. Checking in on Tatsuya, we find the same Taiwanese mafia guy from before chilling at police HQ. So it looks like Tatsuzo's in the police's pockets too. Explains why Tatsuya was removed from the case originally, huh? This time, they tell him he needs a psych eval and basically fire him. Guess Baofu was right about them being useless, so I guess you're stuck with us, hey Tatsuya? After meeting back up with Baofu, we pick Tatsuya up from daycare, the police station, and we get a panic call from Ulala telling us to run. Turns out she's used the Joker curse on somebody, and well, obviously we can't let our bestie get turned into a Joker, so it's time to head over to Gold. Or we would if we had any idea where she actually was. So instead, we spread a rumor that the woman running the ramen shop used to be a man searcher. You know, she used to find people. Look, the translation's weird, okay? Anyways, she tells us where to find Ulala's dirtbag ex, and we track him down and trick him into taking us to Gold. We do a couple of side things here, like meeting Chikarin to get the Mukan and Casino rumor, and starting the man search quest, which is exactly what it sounds like. Running around town, finding people, and guessing their names. It's about as exciting as it sounds. But it does give us a decent chunk of money. Money that, spoiler alert, will be completely useless by the end game, but hey, at least we're getting an achievement out of it. This dungeon is yet another super short one where we grab the key and fight a boss. ATLUS really wasn't messing around with dungeon length this time, but there are a few things we can actually do here for achievements. We pick up this item to get the Rainbow Light material card and snag an achievement of the same name. One more off the list. Then onto the top floor we ask this guy for a key. He happens to be stealing panties from the girls' locker room because he's a pervert. So Tatsuya, you want to handle this one?
Police brutality coming up.
Yeah, he got what he deserved. Now it's time to fight Ulala. If you're smart, you'll choose the first option during this cutscene, but clearly I left my brain at the door today, so I lose half my HP when Ulala attacks us. And here's the best part. Turns out that Maya's the one she called Joker on. Oof. Best friend drunkenly cursing me was not on my bingo card. This fight is pretty straightforward, assuming you don't completely suck at the game, of course. And for beating her, we get the Jokes on Ulala achievement. Honestly, another top tier achievement name. Shout out to Monomaru who made the set for this game. She apologizes profusely, and while her dirtbag ex is screaming at us to throw her in jail, we get our only actual important dialogue option in the entire game. If we tell him to shut his mouth and choose to believe in Ulala instead, we get Maya Prime as a mutation for our original Maya, and an achievement. And since we need all the moon personas for an achievement anyway, there's no way I'm missing that. The asshole gets what's coming to him when Baofu decides his face needs just a little bit of rearranging, and we rush Ulala to the Velvet Room to get Igor's help with this whole friend turning into a demon situation. He's able to extract the Joker from Ulala and return her to normal, so crisis averted. Then we get a call from Anna saying her friend Noriko became a Joker. Hold on here, isn't the Velvet Room supposed to be outside time and space? You know.
Between dream and reality, mind and matter.
How are we getting cell reception in here? You know what? Never mind. Anyways, now we gotta go save Noriko. Should be simple enough, right? Before we take on the optional dungeon, I stop by the casino for our last gambling adventure in Persona. We pick up the Styx achievement here by buying the Styx card, and I apparently deleted that footage, so guess you'll just have to take my word for it. Moving on. I guess it's about time I mentioned the optional dungeon in Eternal Punishment. The first 3 games each have one, and this time it's the bomb shelter below Kasugeyama High. This one's probably my favorite of all the optional dungeons in the series so far. No cryptic notes scattered that are required to get items, no stupidly overpowered boss doors to fight through, just a dungeon that starts out small and slowly opens up as we progress. Simple and actually kind of interesting. We take out our first rumor demon while we're here and get the achievement, It Wants to Teke Your Life. I see you, achievement maker. Now that our side stuff is done, we head over to Club Zodiac and talk to Anna. Into the dungeon we go. This is where I start grinding out fool cards, I think. Look, it's been a while, guys, give me a break. Thanks to the fool cards being rewards later on, we don't need to gather as many as you'd think, and on top of that, I found them to be so much easier to get this time around that it only took a few hours. Not great, but much better than Innocent Sin, that's for sure. I also hadn't been saving up until this point, and I kinda just assumed I was invincible, so of course I ended up getting slapped in the face by a Tengu and dying. Let's just move on from that one. This time going through the dungeon, I actually don't get destroyed, and we reach the staff room where Baofu beats the absolute shit out of some dudes to get the password we need to take on the boss. Tell me the password. I'm starting to get angry. What are you doing? No, don't. Turns out it's Panther. I could have skipped this whole sequence since the password never changes, but who am I to deprive you of more Baofu badassery? When we finally reach the boss room, we find our old mafia buddy once again, who brings out Noriko to us. And what do you know? She's already a joker. This fight ends up being hard. Like, way harder than I expected. I went into this completely unprepared and went down at least 4 times, mostly due to the old maid skill she has. Old maid randomly makes one of your party members cast the Joker spell, which deals massive damage to the whole party. So the idea is that once you see the boss use old maid, you instantly cancel your turn and start blocking so nobody can cast it. Easier said than done when you're on fast combat mode like I was. Eventually, we finally do get a bit lucky and we were able to take down the mafia guys first, then handle Noriko relatively okay after that. For all our troubles, we get the old maid achievement. Worth it? Debatable. But we bring Noriko and apparently Anna over to the Velvet Room, which I swear there should be a rule about non-Persona users in here, but I guess since Igor said so, it's fine. We get yet another phone call in here. Seriously, Igor, where did you set up the cell tower? Also, how much am I being charged to call someone from another time and space? The guy on the other line says he has some information to share with us at Aoba Park, so I guess that's our next stop. Before Aoba Park, we're gonna knock out a couple more achievements, namely the one for putting 100,000 yen into this cat statue. Luckily, it's 1,000 yen at a time instead of 100 like it was in Innocent Sin, but still tedious as hell. Doing this, we unlock a rumor monger and the I can hear you calling out to meow achievement. Can't believe I just said that. Do not ever tell anyone I said meow. Twice. The Aoba Park dungeon is the fastest one yet, but we do end up answering this flowers question correctly to get something we need later for the ultimate weapons. Important? Yes. Interesting? Not particularly. The guy we meet in the park named Sneak, because Subtlety is dead, tells us that not every cop is dirty and gives us photos of Nanjo Nelly from P1. Now it's our job to go spread those rumors about who we want to meet. This is where the game splits. And yes, I do have to replay the game again after the first playthrough to get 100%. Fun! We know canonically the group chooses Nanjo because we see them in the science lab during the Tatsuya scenario later, so that's who I went with first. I think Nanjo also has the much more interesting story, at least in my opinion, because the sections tie a lot more into Persona 1 than Ellie does. We spread the rumor, meet up with Nanjo and Ellie, then it's off to either Sumaru TV with Ellie or the sewers in the lab with Nanjo. Before we go about doing what we should be though, there's a few very important things we need to take care of. Of course, get a rumor for the next rumor demon, but more importantly, we spread a rumor about someone who loves maps and go meet the handsome lad. This is Salem, and he's going to task us with mapping out and turning in maps of almost every dungeon in the game. It's surprisingly worth it since he gives us some insanely good spell cards for doing it. We also need to stop back by work and talk to our boss. When she asks if we were at Parabellum, which we were for Nanjo, we need to pull a Shaggy and tell her, nope, wasn't me. This may seem a bit random, but it's tied to getting a persona later on. Don't ask questions, just do the thing. With all that out of the way, we can head down into the sewers. We end up meeting up with Reiji and Maki from P1, and they're going to help us get through here. But we literally are just going to keep going through Reiji's path every single time because it's just much easier. We take down Tsuchinoko for the achievement Snakes in a Sewer and eventually crawl our way into the science lab. Baofu pulls another badass move and knocks out a guard with just a coin. You know, normal activities for our genius hacker who throws coins at demons to kill them. We also end up meeting Akichi. He's here because apparently Sugimoto was kidnapped. You remember Sugimoto, right? The dumbass from the first game?
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Yeah, there you go. This dungeon can be a bit confusing as we have to get a rumor from Kabanda who will tell us that Rasputin has the key to the fuse box, which we'll need to fully map out the place. Other than that, it's not too bad. We get Akichi in and out with all the patients being experimented on and rush for the boss fight on the 3rd floor. Baofu steals the research data. Hey everyone, it's me from the future. I'm just coming in here because I wanted to also mention the fact that the research Baofu finds here talks about how Kandori is doing research into creating artificial persona users, which also ties into Persona 3, if you know the story of that game. It's just very interesting seeing all these little ass connections that connect the overall Persona universe together and just put everything in perspective. And we find something that looks kind of familiar to anyone who's played P1 or seen my video on it. Doesn't it kind of remind you of the Deva system? Except here, this giant machine is labeled Joker, and inside it has a bunch of black goo that excuse my theory crafting, looks a lot like Shadows from Persona 3 onwards. Which I mean does make a lot of sense. This stuff here, the Kagare that Chizuru mentioned, is the negative emotions of people. And at the end of the day, that's what shadows are, the repressed emotions of people. As if my callback to P1 wasn't enough, out pops Kandori. This asshole should be very dead, but apparently you didn't try hard enough, Nanjo.
But Rarno, Kandori was brought back to life.
Yes, I know Kandori was brought back to life. Shut up. He tells us that we either give back the data or he kills Akichi, so we toss the data and BAM! Tatsuya's back. Persona Superman to the rescue again.
Oh shit, not good.
We escape with Akichi, but of course we need a boss fight, so out pops Sugimoto and he's looking awful. Bro's been fully transformed with the Joker curse. His hair does look kinda silly though. Honestly, out of all the boss fights we've had up until this point, this one was not too bad. The only annoying parts are dealing with the security guards and dealing with our characters getting the Fury status a bunch. It takes a bit, like 5 minutes before he'll end up eating dirt. Akichi gets pissed at us for killing Sugimoto, but Nanjo was careful and lets him know that Sugimoto isn't actually dead, and Nanjo will do his best to fix him. As we find out later in the Tatsuya scenario though, I don't think Sugimoto ends up so lucky. We get the experimenting in battle achievement, and Baofu is like, surprise, I still have the data. Told you he's awesome. When we get back to Nanjo's place, we find 2 more dead bodies to add to the counter. Baofu checks the data we found and finds out that that big machine we saw separates the Joker from the people, and it goes into those tanks. That's the Kagare that our fortune teller was talking about. When Ellie returns, she relays that Chizuru is part of their group, the NWO, or New World Order. Turns out they're using her fortunes as a way to make rumors come true since so many people believe in them. With all the information we have now, we realize that the fortune teller increases the amount of Jokers, the Mafia hunts them down, Kandori separates the Joker and collects the Kagare, and the police cover it up. That is one hell of a web. All of a sudden, we get a news broadcast that people are now being purified of the Joker curse, all by that creep from Innocent Sin, Genji Sasaki. So, that's our cue to head over to Smile Hirasaka and find out what the fuck they're doing. And now for the part of the video where I'm contractually obligated to remind you that the subscribe button exists. Look, I know you've heard it a million times, but I've got at least 8 more of these games to 100%, and if you're the kind of person who's still watching a video about 100%ing a 20-year-old JRPG, you should probably subscribe. Plus, YouTube says it helps with the algorithm or whatever. I don't know, man. I just make videos. Anyways, where were we? Oh, right. Genji's about to have a real bad day. After a few more man searches, we turn our map into Salem, who gives us a bunch of awesome spell cards and the Lab Mapper achievement. He'll have one of these for most dungeons, though there are a few areas he won't bother to ask us to map out. Besides having to map this one out, this dungeon is fairly small. The only thing we're actually required to do here is go to the room where Genji is, and then Maya will use the same trick she used in Innocent Sin and set off the smoke alarms to get everyone out. When we bust in, Maya says fuck your shit and destroys the 2 tanks full of Kagare, which end up jumping right into Genji, and we get probably the hardest boss fight up until now. Not only do these Shogoths love to self-destruct and use possession on us, which can both instantly kill any party member, if not all of them, but they constantly get revived by Genji. So what I choose to do here is go back to the Velvet Room to get Maya Prime and Minotaur. Minotaur's Earth Wall will eliminate the need for us to ever worry about Genji since it stops Earth damage, and Maya Prime at max rank allows us to use Mediarama for some medium heals. It still takes quite a bit of luck, but in the end we do end up completing this one too. Alright, let's try this one again. We have a fairly high chance to not die here, and we died. Hello? Game? The game just froze. Well, that's lovely. Funnily enough, they don't even bother taking him to the Velvet Room to get cured, which I mean, deserved, but still. For handling that situation, we pick up more Kagare and get another phone call from Sneak, who says he'll be at the concert hall in Alba. Baofu and Tatsuya have their next couples argument, and Tatsuya goes off on his own. Can't you guys, just get along for 5 minutes? I guess we don't exactly have a choice, so off we go. We turn in our next map to Salem for the Mall Mapper achievement, and then make a pit stop at our second optional dungeon in Giga Macho. The gimmick for this one is that we can't use our personas. At all. Like the game looked at our useful skills like a stoma and said, fuck you in particular. We grabbed the item Ixquick asked us for from the 100km/h hag. Yep, that's our actual name. And that nets us the Turbo Granny achievement. And with that done, All that's left is to head through Aoba Park, which takes like 30 seconds. When we reach Tatsuya, plot twist, if you couldn't tell by his portrait, Sneak was actually the police chief the whole time. Shocking! He spills the beans about what the police are up to, and apparently the New World Order plans to elevate the current city using a spaceship called Torifune. Now listen, you can't just slap a different name on something and expect me to believe that this isn't Shibalba 2 Persona Boogaloo. I see what you're doing, ATLUS. Oh, and we also get the revelation that the chief is the one who ruined Katsuya and Tatsuya's dad's life. So that's, you know what, I don't even have a joke here, that just kinda sucks. The police captain shows up, his forehead arriving a solid 5 minutes before the rest of him, and guns down the chief right in front of us. So I guess we're doing a boss fight now. This one's honestly pretty tame compared to the Joker fights. I spend a couple of turns buffing the party, take out all the armed goons first, and then it's just a matter of not falling asleep during the captain's turns. Thanks to our persona reflecting his attacks back at him, we literally can't lose. We beat him down and get the Forehead Fury achievement, which is just peak naming. Even Baofu stays quiet after this one. No quips, no sarcasm. Tatsuya's got a bit too much on his plate right now for the usual banter. Back at the hideout, Baofu does what Baofu does best, and he eavesdrops on phone conversations like a goddamn professional. He hears Tatsuya talking to the head of the mafia, Young Pao, and turns out they're at the abandoned factory, and if Torifune rises and they release the dragons of Joka, the poles on the planet will shift, and, well, that sounds bad. Nyarlathotep is really committed to this whole end of the world thing. Like, bro needs to take a vacation or something. Not every timeline needs to be like Nocturne. Baofu bolts out the door without us again, and this motherfucker really needs to stop doing that. It's clear that he's got beef with the mafia, but we won't find out why until later. For now, we're just left standing here like idiots. We grab our map from Salem and head for the abandoned factory. The NWO betrays the mafia because, shocker, evil people aren't trustworthy. Who could have seen that coming? We rush into the factory after Baofu, desperately hoping he hasn't gotten himself killed, and the dungeon's actually kinda neat. Password doors, conveyor belt puzzles, the whole 9 yards. It's a significant improvement over the abandoned factory in Innocent Sin, which is a low bar to clear, but hey, progress is progress. One thing though, make sure you pick up this item from the locker. Seriously. If you miss it, you're locking yourself out of a room later, and you'll be completely screwed at 2 achievements. Don't be like me on my first playthrough. Eventually, we make it to the boss room where we find Baofu in a standoff with Young Pao, and I gotta say, this scene is damn cool. Watching Baofu take on an armed mafia leader and win with nothing but pocket change, that's some John Wick shit right there. The game pulls a good old anime fake out where you think Baofu's about to shoot Katsuya, but no, he shoots the boss instead. And honestly, besides the very first boss of the game, this is the easiest fight so far. The boss is weak to lightning and doesn't have much in the way of tricks. We end up taking it down in record time and net us the Beep Boo Boo Bop achievement.
No, man, you're thinking of beep, boo, boo, bop, boo, boo, bop.
Baofu finally gets to watch Young Pao die. Closure, I guess? But before he kicks the bucket, Young Pao lets us know that Tatsuya is on board a ship called the Nichirinmaru, and about to release the next Joka dragon. So off we go. Before we move on though, we've got a mountain of side quests to knock out. Man searches, rumors, turning in our map to Salem for Factory Mapper. But there's also this kid behind the shrine who mentions a legendary blacksmith who can make ultimate weapons. The problem is, we need to find him first. Using a man search request, we track this dude down back at the shrine and ask him to make ultimate weapons, and he's like, nah, I don't do that anymore. But here's the recipe. Good luck. We take this to Pataparacho's jeweler and boom, we are able to craft our ultimate weapons. We can't even actually do it right now, but hey, better to grab it now than in 10 hours when we'll forget and have to backtrack. Oh, and make sure you spread the rumor about the red cape before heading to the next dungeon or you'll be missing out on a rumor demon. This rumor's different depending on if you're on the Ellie route or Nanjo's route, but we just gotta kill ourselves a demon either way. So, time to head off to the Nichirinmaru, where we get a brief glimpse of Nanjo's new attendant telling someone to scrub Nanjo's name from all of this. At least now we know why Kay never gets tied back to these events in the future games. He's technically clean from P3's mess too, since he bailed on the Kirijo group before everything went sideways. Smart man. Alright, so this fucking ship. If I'm being honest with you, this was one of the most overwhelming mapping quests in the entire game. We got lost, fell through floors, turned around more times than I can count, the game crashed twice. Once you know the layout, you can blitz through it in under 5 minutes, but on my first go, this was a nightmare. After making sure to kill our rumor demon for the Red is Dead achievement, we find the room where we saw the head of Gozen at the start of the game. Remember the mummy? Yeah, it's not here anymore, but there is a map leading to the underwater ruins, so we'll file that one away for later. While we're here, we do grab Doradon's ore for another achievement and a Persona Fusion later, but our main goal is the landing pad, where we find Tatsuya squaring off against Tatsuzo Sudo yet again. The fact that Tatsuya got here on his own and fought through everything I just struggled with is impressive as hell. You know what? I want to see Tatsuya and Joker from P5 fight one-on-one. Who wins that matchup, chat? Now this fight is a bit tricky. It's the same mech enemy we dealt with at the abandoned factory, but now there's 3 of them. And while the one in the abandoned factory was probably one of the easiest bosses in this game, having 3 of them is a lot tougher. Especially because, and this is on me, I forgot to bring any Zio related skills. So my bad. The strategy I went with was the classic use AoEs, spam big heals, and pray to RNGesus. This strategy, it didn't work. But what did work was the fact that Ulala was still equipped with the Uma Yadono persona, which just so happens to reflect physical attacks from the enemy. So we basically just had to have her stand there and tank hits until she reflected enough damage back at them to win. Messy? Absolutely. Did it work? Also yes. Optimal? Highly questionable, but anyways, post-fight we get the achievement Boop Boop Bop.
Not beep boo boo beep. Bop.
And Tatsuya tells us to leave him alone. He'll handle this himself. But what does he know? He's only the key to saving the world or something. Pfft, I could totally do that. Technically, this dungeon isn't over yet. We head deeper into the ship to board one of the submarines so we can reach the underwater ruins, and Tatsuya's piloting one of those mechs from earlier where he tells us to get the fuck out of here and let him handle it. It's seriously wild that he just does all this solo, like genuinely impressive. Sure, a lot of Persona users in the series are impressive. I'm pretty sure canonically Makoto's the strongest, but I think Tatsuya gives Joker a serious run for his money on which pro tag has the most aura. When we arrive at the ruins, the other submarines are already wrecked. Tatsuya cut off any escape routes. My man out here playing 4D chess. This dungeon has another rumor demon where we can unlock the treasure room containing some of the best spell cards in the entire game. The highest tier for every element. Very nice for our fusion shenanigans later. Other than a frankly insulting number of pitfalls though, there's nothing too crazy here. Eventually we reach the boss room, and depending on whether you're on the Ellie or Nanjo route, you'll fight a different boss. I personally found the Ellie route boss to be way harder, but I've heard other people say it's way easier, so that could just be my problem. Either way, on Nanjo's route, we're fighting Kandori, so Nanjo can finally get closure on the events of P1. This time, we're fighting 4 of those mechs plus Kandori himself. Luckily, I learned from my mistakes and actually brought Zio skills this time, so we spam lightning at the mechs until they explode, which leaves us with a nice comfortable 5v1 against Kandori, who then proceeds to absolutely mess us up. Look, I tried my best, but we ended up getting murdered. He is gonna attack, but I think we should be okay. We are not okay. Oh my god. Round 2, I play it safe, healing every turn, keeping everyone topped up, and playing around Kandori's ability to one-shot our entire party if we're not careful. Eventually, through sheer stubbornness and an embarrassing amount of healing, he goes down. We get the He's Back with Shades achievement, and Kay tries to convince Kandori to come with us, but Kandori's like, nah, I gotta die now. I'm not supposed to be here anyway. We also learned that Chizuru had feelings for him, so hey, at least he's got that going for him in death. Silver linings and all that. As we escape, the entire place collapses behind us like a Michael Bay movie, and we make it back to the surface with Tatsuya in tow. Tatsuya tries to leave, but Baofu, blessed his unbeating heart, guilt trips him into finally telling us the truth. Tatsuya agrees, but only if we follow him to Elias Shrine where this all started. So we'll do that, eventually. For now, I've got a mountain of stuff to do. So we're approaching the end game now. We're not quite there, but close enough that I can taste it. First and foremost, we need to go talk to Salem and return the ship map for Ship Mapper. Then it's over to Ixquick, who this time wants us to take down the 200km/h Fogey. This boss is absolutely brutal and takes a massive, and I cannot stress this enough, 3 whole hits to beat. Truly the hardest boss in the entire game. We get the Turbo Grandpa achievement for our troubles, and next up, we're heading back to the bomb shelter because there is a demon down here we need to beat to get her skill card. The demon in question is Izanami, and she's going to carry us for basically the rest of the game, thanks to her heartfelt prayer skill. For anybody who's played Innocent Sin, you know exactly what that means. AoE buffs, baby, which are going to be a godsend because in Eternal Punishment, buffs aren't just recommended for later fights, they're basically mandatory. Over at Elias Shrine, where Tatsuya finally opens up about the fire that broke out there all those years ago, the one where he burned Tatsuya Sudo's face, Maya kinda starts to remember, but we still need more proof, so Tatsuya's taking us to Mount Iwato, which is a very important location in the P2 lore, of course. If you remember from Innocent Sin, this is where Tatsuya, Jun, Lisa, and Akichi hid their masks after the whole Elias Shrine arson. After we step into Mount Iwato, we immediately leave. Why? Because I kinda forgot to go get the map from Salem. Oopsies. During this dungeon, we need to visit all the spots where the gang originally hid their masks, except this time, instead of masks, we'll find fusion cards for our ultimate personas. One for each Maya, Ulala, Baofu, and Tatsuya. This will net us the ultimate material card achievement. Nanjo doesn't get one, but you'll see why soon. Throughout the dungeon, we also start seeing memories of the past. First up is Nanjo, who relives the promise he made with the P1 cast. We even get to see Naoya. I always found it kind of funny that we only ever see young Naoya. They always hide the adult version off screen. You know, this won't really come up until the Ellie route, but Ellie actually states that she's really into Naoya, which is funny because at the end of P1 we find out that he's dating Maki. So F in the chat for second best P1 girl, Ellie. Okay, I know a lot of people love Ellie, but my favorite is still Yuka, who we won't even see in this game because she's off being pregnant. We also won't see Mark since he's in America. Kind of a shame, honestly. After that, we won't be seeing Tatsuya, Ulala, or Baofu's memories till later, so instead we get a highlight reel of moments from Innocent Sin. Maya meeting the main cast, the gang fighting Tatsuya Sudo on the Aerospace Museum, the moment they beat Jun and save them from being the Joker, and of course the final moment is Maya's death and Tatsuya punching Philemon. Tatsuya's like, see? This is why I can't be with you guys, it's my problem to fix. But Maya gives him not just one, but 2 wake-up slaps, one for each cheek. And damn, as much as I love Tatsuya, he deserved that for running away from us so much. They all have a good laugh now that everything's been put into perspective, and just like last time we saw them in these caves, everything seems to work out and our party members come out stronger for it. Nanjo tells Tatsuya he has some great friends, and he also mentions that he should probably go find his own friends to fulfill that promise he made, and so with that, Nanjo leaves our party. We finally have Tatsuya back. Woohoo! Finally! And guess what? He's still level 99. I love you for that, ATLUS. You didn't have to do it, but you did, and I respect it. Okay, now we're in the end game. Tatsuya says to find Torifune, we need to start following underground rumors, so that's our next stop for story. But what's our next stop as completionists? Well, my dear viewer, I'm glad you asked. First over to Salem to turn in our map as always for Memory Mapper, and then we complete all the available man searches up to this point. Then we gotta go get the Kudan rumor from Yasuo. Of course, as always, we gotta gather rumors about everything else going on, so we do that too. But Kudan's important since, you know, rumor demon, and we don't want to miss those. It's also about time I head over to Mu Continent, and luckily I picked up a bunch of coins from slots earlier, so I can instantly grab every material card that just got added here for an achievement each. We get the General Piece, Skull Necklace, Water Lily Petal, Masamune's Eye Patch, and Morningstar material card achievements. Damn, what a mouthful. While we're here in Mu, we also knock out a few other achievements. Shout out to Monomaru again, by the way, for having a big brain and not making an achievement where I have to sit in a casino for 9 hours to get it. I will never get over that P1 achievement. Still haunts me to this day.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting.
For getting a natural flush without a Joker card, which only took me like 8 minutes, we get the Puppa Persona Face achievement, which is yet another banger name. Then we get 2 more here for doing the optional dungeon. The gimmick in this one is we're timed and lose everything if we don't finish in time, but the dungeon's small so you can safely ignore the timer. We end up fighting Musi here in the Trish Spring, which goes down without basically any issues because as you can see, Tatsuya is a level 99 god. It nets us Casa Nessie for our troubles, but we're not done yet. By turning in that quest and talking to this girl, she asks us to go find the cursed taxi. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't you ask me to do that in the last game too? When we return the proof to her, she's all like, wrong! Whatever. Back through the dungeon I go. I enter the door password, which I definitely didn't look up online due to sheer laziness, and we fight the cursed taxi, which yet again goes down easy, getting us younger brother of Chris the Car. From here, we still have the Kudan rumor to do, but I decided to go for ultimate weapons next. We've got enough good rewards from side questing now that we can craft 2 of them. The ones I go for in this playthrough are Ulala's and Tatsuyas, mainly because Katsuya and Maya have better options, and Baofu has an option that's like half as good as his ultimate, but it'll still be more than enough. It is technically possible to get all the ultimate weapons in one playthrough, but guys, I've been tortured enough. Getting one of these nets us the Can It Get Even Stronger achievement. Back to the bomb shelter again, we can find Kudan now. We're still gonna rip off its head like in the first game, but I won't try to give it to anybody this time around. Learned my lesson the last time. With all that out of the way, we can finally start developing more personas to complete a few compendium-based achievements. So I summon the final persona for the Priestess, Strength, and Hermit Arcanas and get achievements for each. Annoyingly, we can't just spam out every Arcana-related achievement in the game like we could in Innocent Sin, since some of them are locked behind the EX dungeon or Ellie's route. Well, time to get back to the main story. In order to get to Torifune, or Xibalba, ATLUS, you're still not fooling me, we need to head underground. Not much to say here, but we do spread another rumor with the demons down here to lower the bridge so we can get to a rainbow piece. This can either create some of the best armor or the best helmet in the game. For me, I just don't care. At the bottom, we finally reach it though. We see some scenes with Tatsuya that quite frankly don't matter. He looks creepy as shit here though. But back to us. Tatsuya tells us about how Shibalba works and that if we think about anything, it's gonna happen, which of course it does. We get the superheated room just like the first time. Good job, Ulala. For the most part, this dungeon's gonna behave the same way it did in the last game when we came through here, so I'll mostly just hit up the story beats. We do have to be careful about mapping it for Salem though, which can be annoying, and I may have done something really stupid here and died. Uh-oh. Why did I say anything? It very much did not. Don't show the footage! For the story, we see 6 more dead bodies to add to our total. Just a bunch of enemy soldiers, nothing crazy. But after that, remember the scene where Tatsuya and Jun were nearly crushed in the first game? We're going through that again, except no traps this time. I don't know what Nyarlathotep's playing at, but I don't like it. Instead, we just get a velvet room and Trish Spring for heals. And a heart-to-heart with Maya where she thanks Tatsuya for saving her. Before anything cute or sappy can happen though, out steps Akechi, Lisa, and Jun in all their golden glory. Remember in the first game where it was Akechi's dad and Jun's mom? Well, now Nyarlathotep is preying on Tatsuya's feelings, and we have our golden trio take him away. So now it's our job to save his ass. For collecting everything here, we get the achievement Torifune material cards, which also lets us summon both Skuld and Suzaku in the Velvet Room. They're very important personas for getting, well, more personas. For now, we rush in to save Tatsuya, and let me tell you, this fight sucks ass. Luckily, I got it in 2 tries, but if you're unlucky, you can be hit with so many status effects that you'd rather be kissing a Marlboro in Final Fantasy X. So of course, I get taken out pretty damn hard my first try. Luckily, the second try goes much better. We're able to 2-shot Akechi by buffing spell damage and hitting him with a fire fusion spell, and bro is out of here. Then, we do the same to both Lisa and Jun, just not as fast. We get the Innocent Sin achievement for our troubles though, and I finally get Tatsuya back. We do find the Petite Deva or Mini Deva system to send us back to Sumaru, but unlike the first game where I went back and began our endgame grind, I didn't really bother this time around. The only thing I do when I get back to the city is stop by Satomi Tadashi to pick up some supplies, then come back for the boss fight. Before we do the boss fight though, we have to do something super important here. There's a demon rumor we can pick up that Ildenak is actually Lu in disguise. If we don't get the rumor, we won't be able to summon Lu, and we'll be locked out of the achievement for the compendium, which I definitely don't want to do, not after coming this far. Go ahead and add a bunch more bodies to our list too. Tatsuya said fuck all of you. Also, as it turns out, say it with me, we're too late! It's like a running theme with Persona 2, always being 2 steps behind the villains. Sumaru City rises just like with the first game, and that's when this nasty ass thing shows up. I didn't mention this guy earlier because I didn't think he mattered all that much, but this guy right here, who's now a nasty ass demon amalgam, is the one who designed those mechs we've been fighting. Looks like he got his ass betrayed too because he wanted to be immortal, and Tatsuya was like, oh, you want to be immortal? Sure! No, you're an immortal demon! And that immortal thing isn't a joke either. This dude heals almost 800 health a turn, so you either hit hard or you hit the floor. Luckily for us, fire's his weakness, and we have top tier fire skills and magic buffs on our side. So we hit him for almost 2k a turn and outpace his healing pretty easily. Beating him nets us the Please Stop Healing achievement. After grabbing a crap ton more rumors, we can take our next step to getting the ancient personas. Head back into work and talk to Kashihara here and listen to his story about Tatsuno Shinsuo. Sound familiar? We'll take that rumor he just told us and spread it before heading back to Alaya Shrine to talk to Setsu Nishitani, who tells us another story, this time about Mahime Amano. They really weren't even subtle about it. I didn't mention many of the rumors during this playthrough, but this is our last one, so after spreading it, we get the achievement Super Spreader. Don't you dare ever call me that again. This will also be the last man search we're able to do, so by finding the last person, we get Super Searcher. And with that out of the way and a bunch of material cards obtained, we can now start making more personas for a bunch of achievements. I also didn't mention it earlier, but you can see in the full playthrough that I was making sure to mutate personas early, since I didn't know if I'd be able to mutate them if I was too high a level, because that's how it worked in Instant Sin, of course. But with this last mutation, we're now able to get the achievement Coin. Before we keep summoning though, let's head to Double Slash. If we talk to this girl here, we can ignore what she asks us and instead say Haster come forth, all one word, capital letters, and she'll be like, oh shit, Maya, I didn't realize you were like that for real. And now we can summon Haster, which won't actually return till P5, and even then, we can't use it. Now, back to the Velvet Room, we can get the achievements for Tower, Star, Temperance, Cup, Wand, and Sword. There's not a whole lot to do in this next dungeon, and I end up bypassing the whole thing. However, what we did make sure to do is, do you remember how we put 10,000 yen into an offering box very early on? Or how we talked to our boss and said we weren't at Parabellum? Well, that's where all of this matters. By talking to my Hime Amano and Tatsuno Shinsuo, we get both of them, plus Junosuke Kuroda as personas we can summon. Sorry Akichi and Lisa, no ancient personas based around you guys. That's about all we need to do in this dungeon. You're supposed to find a password to get through it, but since I already know the password is Perseus, we can just head for the boss. We are supposed to fight Rhonda here too, but I forgot and had to reload, so pretend I did that? Finally, we come face to face with Tatsuzo, who killed all of his followers like the psycho he is. Like son, like father, huh? He releases the last of the dragon, preparing for the end times, and Tatsuzo transforms. Time for us to finally take this old fuck down. He's honestly not too tough. The follow-up fight is much more annoying, but for this fight, all I'm gonna do is buff our magic damage and toss all of our strongest spells at him at once. The poor old man barely has time to breathe before he goes down. But like I said, we're not finished. Next up, we have to take down Gozen. Remember the old mummy these guys worship? Yeah, it's a boss. And while it is harder than Tatsuzo, it's still kind of a pushover. This time around, we buff our physical damage since this guy resists spell damage, and then we just basic attack him into oblivion. As long as we keep up our healing, he can't really do anything to stop us, and we get cleansed the sins. With Gozen and Tatsuzo down, the dragons retreat from Sumaru, and we've won. At least, sort of. Nyarlathotep obviously won't take this lying down, so we're sucked into the world of the collective unconscious once again. We come face to face with good old Nyarli, this time wearing Tatsuya's face instead of Jun's father. Just can't help himself from pulling some stupid mind trick on us. And it's about here where the gang finally seems to realize, man, we're really about to fight that thing? Tatsuya was gonna do this alone? Luckily for me, this dungeon, like most in Eternal Punishment, is pretty easy. It's definitely more complex than previous dungeons, but hey, we're fine. However, we do have to deal with some annoying achievement-based things here. We need to make the wrong choices in order to get harder boss fights, which lead to achievements, and also make good choices for an achievement post-final boss. I did do each of the boss fights twice to show those off though, so, you know, double the fun. We'll end up meeting up with the shadows of Baofu, Katsuya, and Ulala slowly throughout the dungeon, with our first one being Katsuya. For this shadow, you want to believe in Katsuya to weaken the boss, otherwise it'll grow stronger. Simple enough. With Ulala, you want to say that it's her own choice, not Maya's. And with Baofu, you actually want to yell at him not to shoot the persona. I want to talk about what we see when it comes down to Baofu, so let's kind of rewind a bit. Nyarlathotep and his army of shadows fuck with us quite a bit while we're here. We see Katsuya's past and how he wanted to be a pastry chef, but ended up joining the force after his dad's wrongful termination. We also find out that Katsuya has a crush on Maya. Ooh, both older brother and younger brother want Maya. Drama. Oh, what is wrong with me? Before we can get to Ulala's shadow though, we do find an exit so we can go resupply. It's also about time I grind to level 99 and get everything else I want for endgame. So, I go and get the last map from Salem and head to the Velvet Room for some more summoning. Grind my little heart out to level 99, and then hop back into the final dungeon. What Nyarlathotep is trying to do here is he's actually taken Akichi, Lisa, and Jun, and he plans to have them gain their memories again, which will cause the other world to take over this one and ruin everything. For Ulala's memory, we see her out drinking with Maya and lamenting that Maya's better than her in every way, but Ulala, you'll always be my favorite. You punch things, and that's all I really need. Finally, it's time for the boss fight. Ulala and Katsuya's shadows. Luckily, they're not too hard. Katsuya's weak to water and ice, which we have tons of because of Maya's ultimate persona, and Ulala's weak to earth. After buffing up, they kinda fold like toothpicks in a vice, and we get detective shadowboxing. If we pick the correct options, Akichi will be asleep and none the wiser about this, but if we chose the wrong options, he'll be awake and pretty upset that Tatsuya didn't rely on him. Like I said, we will go ahead and reload to do the harder version of the fight and get the second achievement to mirror our last before moving on. Now, from here, I want to talk a bit about Baofu's past, since this scene really is the only glimpse we get into his psyche. We get to see a reverse Odysseus, Baofu's persona here, going berserk and beating his girlfriend off a tree while choking her. If they weren't dating, I'm sorry, but I know they were romantic at the very least. Now, depending on our choices here, Baofu will either attack and hurt himself or break down. I actually ended up picking the wrong option here and he attacked, so sorry about that. Now, I only want to talk about this because of how much I like Baofu as a character, but this scene really shows just how much of a broken man he really is. Years before the events of Eternal Punishment, Baofu was a prosecutor. Like Icarus, he got a little too close to the sun being the Taiwanese mafia, and instead of killing him, they killed Miki. His shadow is now here tormenting him and forcing him to confront exactly what he hates the most, himself. Nothing against the others in our party, but seeing inside Baofu's head and how much he really blames himself for Miki's death hits hard. He ends up opening up to us after this scene about just how much he's blamed himself all these years, and while we know he was originally trying to use us, Baofu's kind of become a really close friend to our main party. Even if they all bicker with him a lot, they do care about him. And thanks to their support, he chooses to push forward with us. Our last shadow we confront here isn't Maya's, but instead Nyarlathotep himself, who tries to goad Maya into shooting him. Of course, I'm not going to do that until later, but can I just talk about something really stupid? In this dungeon, there's a demon named Azi Dahaka.
Hello, I'm Dr. Abdullah Abdul Rahman. I graduated from Harvard University and have over 30 years of experience for diagnosing disease. If you want to know one thing, this right here is cancer.
I walked into this fight and it turns out you can't actually kill this demon. You have to bring a certain persona in order to make him vulnerable. Of course, I didn't know that, so what do? I walk into the fight blissfully unaware of this, and you'd think, oh, just run away. But no, if you're playing on hard mode, you can't run from fights. Oh, just use one of the escape items. Sure, let me go ahead and do that. Oh wait, you can't in this fight. ATLUS, what the fuck? I hadn't saved up till now either, so I had to redo the whole ass dungeon just to get out of here. Anyways, on to Shadow Maya and Baofu. Again, if we chose the right options, Lisa will be asleep, and if we chose wrong, she'll be awake and upset that the man she loved didn't ask for her help. Regardless of all that though, this happens. Go for it. Yeah, Shadow Baofu has a skill that kills anyone with a level divisible by 9. Luckily, I did have a save here, so this time we get more than 0 turns and we take him down fast. Shadow Maya is also super easy since she's weak to physical attacks. Once they go down, we get Baofu dying. I make sure to save here and we push forward through the rest of the dungeon. Oh wait, I lied. There is no more dungeon. Instead, I make sure to go fight Gaia and Virochana here in order to summon them in the Velvet Room. Now, we have one last thing to grab before the ending. The last few achievements for this playthrough are gotten when we head to the air raid shelter and collect the last thing here for Raid the Air Raid Shelter. And while I'm here, I also make sure to find an ATLUS who gives us her card for having a karma ring equipped. Yeah, this is the first time we can actually use ATLUS in the series, and damn is she good. No die for me skill, but she has top tier healing and Megidolon. We turn in the map for the final dungeon to Salem for God of Mapping, and then head for the Velvet Room to collect 11 more achievements for Fool, Empress, Emperor, Lovers, Magician, Chariot, Fortune, Devil, Moon, Sun, and Justice Arcanas. Damn. On top of that, I head over to Giga Macho and pick up the 20 CDs we need for CD Collector. Alright, final boss time. With all that done, it's time for Nyarlathotep. We find out from him that Tatsuya is the reason the world is so fucked right now. Because he refused to forget his friends and forget the day they met, he became a paradox. If he continues to stay in this world with his memories, the two worlds will collide no matter what we do. We get my favorite Baofu line here, where the entire group all tells Nyarlathotep off and stands up for Tatsuya. Ah, shut up. You can take this fate of yours and stick it up your ass. Luckily for me, neither this fight nor the hard version are actually all that hard, in either his first or second forms. After buffing up, we kinda just spam our best skills, and when we start running low on SP, I just have Maya use Miracle Eggs on the party until we were topped up. Ulala sat on healing duty with ATLUS the whole time, and with that, we're basically unstoppable. Kinda anticlimactic, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Once Nyarlathotep finally goes down, we get the achievements Crawling Chaos and Falling Chaos for picking the good choices. Nyarlathotep's final words in the series are that he'll always be there no matter what. Like, duh, buddy. Where there's good in people like our main cast, there's always going to be shitty people who wish for the worst. In fact, I have a lot of theories about Persona 4 and 5 having to do with Nyarlathotep, but I'll save it for those games. For now, Tatsuya cuts him down, finally ending that long-ass journey he's been on. He admits to us that he's going back to his own world now. You know, the one that was destroyed in Innocent Sin, which, can I just say, a world where only Sumaru is left sounds hella bleak. I understand that he has to do it, otherwise the world is doomed, but damn, he's only 18, man. ATLUS couldn't give my boy one piece of happiness in the end. He pulls a Lisa and ends up kissing Maya before knocking her unconscious and leaving our world.
Hey, stop! Why? I just don't get it. I always catch you fuckers watching this sick shit. This is sickening.
Post-game, we get some happy scenes with Maya back at work, Baofu and Ulala working together at an agency that helps look for missing people, and Nanjo and Ellie finally fulfilling their promise to meet most of their friends again. We see Lisa, Kichi, and Jun end up meeting back at the shrine, struggling to remember something that they can't quite put their finger on, but overall, everything worked out for everyone except Tatsuya. The last we see of him is this side's Tatsuya telling Katsuya that he wants to be a detective like his big brother. And with that, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment ends on a very somber note. But that's only playthrough 1, and I still gotta grab a few more achievements, so hang on a minute. I make sure to redo both fights with Baofu and Maya's Shadow for the hard version achievement, and then refight Nyarlathotep 2 so we can get the achievement for beating him in his hardest form. That's Persona 2 Eternal Punishment wrapped up with a neat little bow. Well, as neat as you can get when the main character has to sacrifice himself to save 2 timelines. Right then, let's blast through my second playthrough, the Tatsuya scenario, and the EX dungeon for the last of our achievements, because if I don't get through it quickly, we'll be here till the heat death of the universe. So for playthrough number 2, I pick Ellie because the game won't let me access the EX dungeon otherwise, and there's some achievements tied to her route, so let's speed through these. We head to the TV studio this time and deal with the rumor demon there for Where's My Legs. Instead of fighting a demon-possessed high schooler this time around, we fight Chizuru herself for the Stalkers and Studios achievement. And all I can say about this fight is fuck you, go to hell, I hate you, Chizuru. Genuinely, this fight fucking sucked. Turning in the TV studio map gets us TV Mapper, then aboard the Nichirinmaru we fight Blue Cape this time for Blue is Screwed. After the Undersea's Ruins, we get to fight Chizuru again for the She's Back Without Backup achievement. Nothing says fun like repeated boss fights, right? After Mount Iwato, we snag Memories from the Other Side Eriko, and then head to Mu Continent to buy the Prosecutor's Diary for an achievement of the same name. At this point, I also mop up a couple of missed achievements from the main story. There's Tony My Beloved, and if you get Nekomata off the man search list instead of giving her the 100,000 yen, you get Lost Cat. Oh, and by fusing all the world personas now, we finally knock out the compendium achievement for world as well. Alright, that's basically the gist of my second playthrough done. Now let's talk about the Tatsuya scenario. So here's the deal. I don't want to go too much into it, but in the new world, as we know, rumors start coming true again, obviously. Tatsuya realizes, oh no, Nyarlathotep's pulling the same shit again, and instead of going back to school and pretending everything's fine, he just leaves. Eventually, he meets this detective named Shiori Mayashiro when she stupidly uses the Joker rumor on herself to try and catch him. Bold strategy, didn't work. Interestingly, Philemon keeps trying to talk to her, but she kinda just ignores him every single time she enters his domain. Can't say I blame her, man's cryptic as hell. When Tatsuya catches up to her though, turns out Tatsuya Sudo is already there. The two of them fight, and Sudo mentions that he dismembered her brother all because Tatsuya wasn't at Elias Shrine that night like he was in the original timeline. That's super fucked up, actually. How you gonna drop that shit like, hey guys, fun fact number 69, I killed someone? Long story short, after barely winning this boss fight, Shiori lets Tatsuya crash at her place, and we get the achievement Alone in a Club. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than that, but if you want the full picture, check out the VOD. In part 2, Shiori talks to Tatsuya's dad and asks him to call off the search for him while she helps Tatsuya out. He agrees, and if you remember from the main story, this is around the time when the Joker started appearing. Shiori becomes one and gets taken by the NWO, which is why Tatsuya was at the factory in the first place, looking for her. Another long story short, Shiori ends up as far gone as Sugimoto was, which is why I said there was probably no hope for him, because the stuff we have to do to save Shiori is downright a miracle. Also, we end up fighting Kandori here, and he kinda makes Tatsuya look a little bit silly. I know Kandori's strong, but I don't know if he's stronger than Tatsuya. That's kinda nuts. Anyways, finishing part 2 nets us alone in a lab. In part 3, Shiori's been separated and broken into trapezohedrons scattered across Kadath Mandala, basically a place within the Sea of Souls that's on a level slightly above where Nyarlathotep and Philemon hang out. We get a lot of achievements here for beating demons and choosing the wrong dialogue options, but I'll blow through these fast. Again, if you want the full story, check the VOD. We end up picking up optional challenge Virochana, Sakya, Izanami, Angry Mainu, and Old One, and by completing the third scenario, we get the Dreamland. At the end of the day, we gather all the pieces, return Shiori back to normal, and it was a pretty good story, even if the first part was way too dialogue heavy for me. Like, painfully so, and I enjoy a good visual novel from time to time. Now let's talk about the EX dungeon. This only unlocks when you beat both Eriko and Nanjo's routes in the main game on the same save file. There's also a bunch of exclusive personas here. Basically, the rooms are set up to look like locations from Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment, and they all have their gimmicks. Finding memories, automatically running forward, stuff like that. To get all the achievements here, we also need to collect 3 butterflies scattered around to power Philemon up. After clearing most of this place, we're finally able to finish our compendium achievements though by picking up Ellie and Nanjo's ultimate persona and doing the shittiest mutations known to humankind. Honestly, getting Michael to appear in mutations made me want to slam my head in an incinerator. In Minecraft, of course. Seriously, This took 2.5 hours just ending fights with fusion spells. I had this persona mutate 6 times, and the first 5, all it did was change into one of the minor arcana. Never again. Eventually, we snag Hierophant, Death, Judgment, and Hanged Man. Then by completing the 3 butterflies, we get They Flutter By. Finally, the only thing left to do is fight the super boss. The first one in Persona history, and let me tell you, this fucking fight was pretty easy, not gonna lie. Philemon takes down my party members a few times, but it's nothing a few items can't fix. We burned through quite a few eggs to restore SP, but overall if you just focus on having someone use ATLUS to full heal every turn, buff your attacks and defense, and spam almighty skills at Philemon, he eats dirt pretty quick. That gets us our last and final achievement, You Are the Strongest I've Ever Seen. I can't say the same, Philemon. Honestly, Elizabeth is probably still the hardest super boss I've ever fought in this series. Overall, Eternal Punishment was a great game. The 100% completion was dog shit, and I'll never do it again, because getting personas to mutate is a mechanic that I hope stays in the 90s, or 2010s, or where it belongs. As my first playthrough though, the story was fantastic, and the conclusion was a great way to bring Tatsuya's journey to a close. Real sad ending, but you can't fault the guy for saving the timeline. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as I like to say, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment is mission complete. Bye bye.